We were originally going to talk about our biggest fears, but then we wanted to do an episode about the scariest things about adulthood and things that people don't. On the menu today at Sarah's Soju Cafe is Bloody Mary, so grab your mugs and let's chat about what they don't tell you about adulthood. Welcome to our last Halloween spooktacle here on Soju with Sarah. Woo! Today's episode is all about the scariest parts of adulthood just in time for Halloween. We're going to dig into the parts of adult life that really make us shiver, sometimes in fear, sometimes in sheer awkwardness.
Brr.
From paying bills to battling existential crises, we'll chat about the weird, unexpected things that no one really tells you about. Let's dive in and keep it real, lighthearted, and maybe a little spooky. Today is the last episode in our Halloween series, and we tried to go all out, but I don't know if it looks like we went all out.
Yeah, we set up like a spiderweb decoration with these spiders. They just look like black specks on the screen, I think, but you know, it looks pretty good in person. I will say that.
You know, in my head for our Halloween episode, I thought we would have like orange lighting, pumpkins everywhere, like go all out.
And like flashing lights in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, the sound effects.
Oh, yeah. Oh, why didn't we get that?
Our budgets are tight. Got to talk to the CEO about that.
Wait, I'm the CEO.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we try to have orange lighting? Can I change it?
Oh, we can, yeah. Should we change it?
Yeah. It's going to become orange lighting in 3, 2, 1. Ta-da!
Now we're spooky.
So today's episode, we were originally going to talk about our biggest fears, but then we wanted to do an episode about the scariest things about adulthood and things that people don't tell you about adulthood. Now that we are both 27 and have lived through 7 years in our 20s. Do the math.
You said we're 27 and I just realized I'm in a pickle costume on the podcast. Is this what I thought I'd be doing at 27?
It's okay. I'm in an undisclosed costume on the podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Leave them wanting more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys want more? Also, I'm debating if I should explain my costume now. There is a reason we are in these costumes, but stay until intermission because we will be telling the stories of why we're in this costume.
It's funny because it is Halloween, so I think people kind of vaguely know why, but then there is a larger reason why we chose these costumes.
Would you like to introduce the drink of today?
Yes, the drink of today is a Bloody Mary, and a Bloody Mary consists of, what is it? It's like V8 spicy tomato drink with Worcestershire sauce and Tabasco sauce. But the V8 sells it in like a mix, so I didn't actually buy all the separate ingredients. I just put the mix in, and then it's usually with vodka, but we only have tequila, so I use tequila.
This literally smells like tomato sauce.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be terrible, but I've never had a Bloody Mary actually.
Wow.
Oh.
Wait.
Wow.
The ice just melted and now it just tastes like water and tomato.
It's like tomato water with the hint
this.
of alcohol. That's really bad.
Oh wow. I think that has to be the worst drink we've ever had on this podcast.
I think there's a reason I have never had a Bloody Mary.
At some point we should do a ranking of all the drinks we've had on Soju with Sarah.
Yeah. If any drinks companies out there want to send us a drink that is good that we can taste, that would be perfect.
What if V8 wants to sponsor us?
Instead of this Bloody Mary. V8? Have you seen them sponsor anyone ever?
I mean, we could be the first.
We could be, yeah. If you work at V8, let us know.
And just to clarify, James are you a pickle or a cucumber?
I think I'm a pickle. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Pickle James. Yeah, so I'm a pickle. And so what are you?
We'll keep that a secret until intermission. Look, this is not my Halloween costume of choice, but because of the theme of today, that is why I'm in this costume. Usually I would be a sexy cat or something.
Except now you're a sexy whatever this is. Permission to take off my pickle hood? It's quite uncomfortable.
Permission granted.
Thank you so much.
Okay, very quickly before we get into the episode, I wanted to ask you, what did you used to be scared of during Halloween? Every year when you're a kid, when Halloween rolls around, every kid has their own little fear, whether it's ghosts or rotten candy or
rotten candy
or old ladies.
Was that a thing?
Handing out rotten candy.
Did you ever get rotten candy? Expired candy?
But sometimes people would cook, like they would bake things or like cook their own candies or like hand out stuff that's a little too homemade.
Yeah.
And then my mom would always be like, let's not take it.
Homemade is kind of crazy to give out to kids.
For Halloween.
Yeah. It's like, where's your food license? You know, like you can't be doing this.
Is that Asian of us to like be like, we need a food license before we can consume this?
I think everyone was like, it's funny you say that and also ask that question, because my response was just going to be, you know how in like elementary school and the teachers basically they were telling you how when you go out for trick-or-treating you need to watch out because they could be putting like razors in candies or like lace them with like drugs and stuff. Did you never have teachers ask you that or tell you that?
No, maybe I was just in a safer neighborhood. Why would they?
No, our neighborhood's safe, but then you know like the fear mongering that happens among parents sometimes and like
Yeah.
teachers. I don't know why, but I remember in like third grade, one of the teachers was like, guys, be careful if you're trick-or-treating. There's been stories about people giving out candied apples and then inside the candy there's like razors, and then when you bite them it's gonna cut you up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was really scared about that. Luckily I didn't really trick-or-treat because our family didn't really do that. But then there's also stuff like they lace the candy with acid.
For kids?
Like watch out for your kids. You can't let them just take anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was scared about that.
Now I don't want to take our kids trick-or-treating when we're
older. I don't think it's actually true. Like what neighborhoods are doing this? You know? Like it must be like a 1 in a billion occurrence.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, my fear was just homes that were dark.
This is only during Halloween though?
Only during Halloween. My Halloween specific fear as a kid were those homes that had the lights off and it seemed like an abandoned house. And then somehow I'd always be trick-or-treating with friends and then we'd still go ring those doorbells. And I'd be like, can we go? This is really scary.
You used to trick-or-treat like that?
Yeah, like go to around the neighborhood.
Did your parents go around with you?
Oh yeah, of course.
Were they scared?
My parents?
Yeah, of those houses.
Actually, we were that house.
Oh, you were the house that you were scared of? It was just dark all the time?
Yeah, no. Some years we would get candy and then hand it out. And then some years we'd pretend like the lights are off and no one's home.
Yeah.
Depending on the season.
What was like some of the best parts of Halloween?
Oh, I loved sorting the candies after going trick-or-treating. That was so fun. And then trying all the candies and then finding the candies that you really like and then putting into your like favorite stash so that you could have it later, but then eating like 50 of them first.
Are you the type to take out all the M&Ms and you sort them by color or like the Skittles?
No, I'm not like that.
Okay.
Are you?
It's just the types of candies?
Oh yeah.
No, I'm the furthest from that. But I wouldn't even sort the candies like that. I would just take whatever. I'm like, yeah, and just eat them.
Would you ever so you did go trick-or-treating?
Trunk or treating.
Oh yeah, trunk or treating. I forgot from the last episode.
Yeah, not trick or treating, but trunk or treating.
To turn it back onto you, what was the best thing about Halloween?
The best thing I liked the Halloween specials that they would do on Disney Channel.
Oh,
I think it was like Halloween Town. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Those were always really fun to watch.
Oh yeah, those movies.
Yeah, and then if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts, which I don't think you have, but if anyone out there has, the Halloween world was really fun to play too. So, anyways.
That's fun. I always like Halloween because it's like the whole season is just festive and spooky.
Also, this weekend was just really funny walking around New York and like normally everyone's so serious. I mean, they still look really serious actually. I remember seeing a mom just like smoking a cigarette, like looking really like serious and having a conversation on her phone.
And she was like in a princess costume.
Yeah, she was like
and
a princess
pregnant
costume
with a crown.
Yeah, I was like, this is a really funny visual right now.
And then seeing Chapel Roan walk out of the bodega with like cans of beer.
Yeah, we don't know that wasn't Chapel Roan.
That's true. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a great season to be the real version of something that is commonly dressed up as in Halloween.
Oh wait, did you see the Timothy Chalamet lookalike competition today? Yeah. That's so funny.
He actually showed up.
Did he actually?
He did. Yeah. He walked around in the crowd and then people got like TikTok videos of him.
Oh, I didn't know he was actually there. Oh, that's so funny.
But it's so funny because there were some that looked just like him. So honestly, if I saw the Timothy Chalamet that showed up, I don't think I would recognize him versus everyone else.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. Before we get into that, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to say I felt so validated by everyone in the comments with the whole outlet discussion that we had.
Oh,
and
my
if you
God.
missed it, 2 episodes ago, we discussed how the outlets have 2 different length lines for the how would you even call them? The openings where you plug in stuff. Yeah, they're different lengths. Anyways, I felt so validated because Sarah was like, you didn't know that? And then I was like, dang, am I the only one that doesn't know?
Wait, I swear it was the last episode. We have to settle this.
Oh, you're gonna be wrong. So what are you gonna owe me? You're gonna have to chug all that Bloody Mary.
No, we still have extras. Almost 2 episodes ago.
2 episodes ago.
All right, give me the Bloody Mary.
No, I'm not gonna make you do that. Anyways, yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who validated me there.
Getting into the episode, I think I'm going to take this off because I'm sweating.
Yeah, please.
Oh my goodness. So we split this episode up into different categories. So the main categories being relationships, careers, finances, and miscellaneous. Because miscellaneous, I feel like encompasses like half of them, but these are like the broadest topics when it comes to adulthood that we talk about on this channel. So I thought it would be cool if we had that structure. But the first section is relationships, and relationships can be very scary. And there's a lot of things that we already talk about on this channel with relationships, adult friendships, codependency, things like that. But today we wanted to talk about just some more unique takes on what is scary when it comes to adulthood. So the first one that I wrote down is the fear or realization that you're outgrowing people. Have you ever felt that in your 20s or even before your 20s, that you're outgrowing a friend or someone that you had some sort of kinship with, or even your family?
Yeah, I think I felt that. I think I don't want to call it a fear, but it's just like a thought. It's like, are we outgrowing each other? And I think for me, it's not really outgrowing. It's just more like, oh, I feel like our prime time was like in the past. Like the prime of our friendship was probably in the past, but I still really value this person and like want to catch up with them and stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a fear for me in my situations, but I've definitely felt it. I think it's inevitable too. If you're just not just friendships, but it can happen in relationships. And, you know, I hope you haven't felt that with me.
Yeah.
I've never felt that with you, but I think with friendships, yeah, I think it's inevitable whenever you're going through transition points in life, which I feel like we are.
I think for me, the reason I wrote this down is because, like you mentioned, it's kind of inevitable when you're friends with someone for a really long time that you start realizing that you're either outgrowing each other's life trajectory, like career or location or relationship status. It's just very common to see friends go down a different path, and you can't always be with your friend down certain paths. I think the undertone of a friendship breakup is that something happened between you two, and that there's a reason that causes you to kind of split. But then with outgrowing friends, it's a natural progression. Like it's really organic, and sometimes you can't even pinpoint why it happened, except that you're going down different paths. And I think that is one thing that is scary when you go through it the first time and even the second time and beyond.
Yeah. Do you feel like in the experiences that you've had, the other person also feels that way, or do you feel like it's usually one-sided, where you just kind of feel that and then you kind of try to move on?
I feel like one party always feels the resistance more, and then the other party feels the desire to resist. So it's kind of like the attachment styles where one person's probably more avoidant and then the other person might be more attached or also avoidant. But I feel like if both people are attached in a friendship situation, that they would stay friends and there wouldn't be like a split.
Yeah. Have you ever had a moment where you're hanging out with a friend and then you just kind of think to yourself like, this is probably one of the last times I'll ever hang out with this person?
That's so sad.
And like almost by choice too, because you're like,
oh really?
Oh, they're this way and I didn't realize, or we're just so different now, and like it doesn't really make sense to try to like force a hangout, you know?
Yes. And it was because I realized I had a friend in college that I was really close to by proximity of like taking classes together. Then after college, that, you know, that little theory I have where people's quirks kind of get more and more dramatic as they get older. I realized that they're very condescending. They always talk very highly of themselves and kind of like shit talk other people. And in all circumstances, even if we're not talking about other people, they kind of just like to bring up negative energy. And I think I realized that when we hadn't seen each other for a while after graduating, and I saw them again at a wedding and we talked for a bit, and I realized how unpleasant and uncomfortable they made me feel. And that's where I thought to myself that I don't think this friendship would kind of like last more down the line or like down the years.
Yeah.
So I've had that moment.
I think those scenarios are a lot more clear cut when it's like they're clearly not a good person to be around for you, and maybe to other people they're not as bad of a friend in that sense. Like maybe it's around certain people that they're that way. And like we're talking about this from a perspective like we're the ones breaking up with the friend, but do you feel like you've ever been the recipient of that? And like did you even realize it happening? Because I'm wondering, like, you know, has that happened to me where someone else thinks, oh, I've kind of outgrown them, or like we're just so different, and they're kind of like just kind of slow fading out? And I'm wondering if I just never noticed, or there have been instances where I just wasn't aware.
I think I've noticed when people don't make an active effort anymore, and I think that's an indicator that someone's starting to phase you out of their life. Like once my friends and I kind of split up and separated in purely location, I remember there were some friends that would never actively make a trek out because I think it's like a mutual thing. Like I would always be busy or I wouldn't ever actively make a trek out there to see them. That like the reverse also started happening. And I think that's also a type of friendship splitting that happens. But
It's like
again,
pretty mutual, right?
it's pretty mutual. And I think maybe I'm not aware of any situations where someone's phased me out so blatantly, but have you?
Have I been the recipient of I think like once.
Mm.
So I was friends with these two people during freshman and sophomore year, and we're like pretty close as a friend group. And then
Mhm.
I think suddenly one of them was clearly like not into hanging out with us anymore for some reason, and they never said it outright, but it was just kind of
Yeah.
like it's getting harder and harder to see them. And then when you like text them to hang out, it'd be like kind of harder to like get them to hang out with us. And then
Mm.
ultimately over time, and it was like so weird because like we were all so close together, and so once that person just started kind of like arm's length, kind of keeping us at a distance, I was like very like surprised, and I was just confused a little bit and just like not really sure why that happened. I don't know. I think I've like pretty much let it go, but I just was always like, huh, that was weird. I wonder what was going on in their life that made them want to like leave this trio behind.
Did you ever have a hunch on why that happened, or are you completely in the blind about it?
I honestly don't really know. I don't know if it's like a religion thing, maybe like
Oh, because you knew them through.
I met them through like initially a Christian group thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like, oh, like their value system seems different than mine, or maybe it's just like, oh, they're just negative or something. I don't think I was necessarily negative, but maybe I don't know. Maybe that's what this person thought. Like it's not an energy that they wanted to be around or something like that. But it's really hard to say, and I think it's like being the receiving end of that is definitely it is confusing.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of want the answer, like why?
Yeah.
But I think in most circumstances, like you're just not gonna like know. And I think. I mean, I'm like totally fine with it, but probably a lot of people, if they've been on the receiving end of it, it probably is like just a lingering question in their mind. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it always is because of like a shift in values or a shift in where you are in life. Also, some people sometimes, not saying that this happened in this situation, but some people operate in jealousy or not wanting to confront. I've definitely been in situations where friends kind of cut people out because they don't like seeing other people succeed. Maybe that's something not to keep in, but like they're like, I just don't want to see them on their feed like talking about all the cool things they're doing,
like they're doing,
like someone else is doing something good.
They're reminding you that you're not doing enough or something.
Yeah, like people don't like when people are being reminded that they're not as far in life.
I went climbing today, right, to meet that guy, and then afterwards I hit the sauna at the gym because I like purchased a day pass there. Like I might as well use it. I was in there, and then this is a tangent, but these two guys are in there talking. One of them runs he's like, yeah, I employ like 76 people, and I run like a software consultancy, and like I help companies like scale their like tech platforms and stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, oh crap, that's cool. And then the other guy's like, oh, I work at this like public company, this tech company, and I like run the generative AI like division.
Wow.
And I was like,
what do you do?
I was like, I don't really want to talk because I don't want to have to tell them what I do. Compared to them, I'm like, oh, I'm like a little pipsqueak.
I mean, did you tell them that you're going to be a pickle tonight on your podcast?
I didn't want to brag. I mean, like, are you kidding?
No, they're going to be so jealous. They're going to be like, you got to leave, man. We can't handle you.
I'm a co-host on Soju with Sarah. And they'd be like, oh my God.
They're like, put your pants back on. You got to leave.
Yeah, I was just in the sauna in the pickle suit, actually.
You're prepping for tonight.
Yeah. All that to say, like, I think I really do understand when people feel slighted by, not slighted, but just comparison game with their friends when they're doing really well, because it makes you think like, why am I not doing that? And like kind of makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
I think there's different ways to like cope with that, but it's like you could either take that kind of like jealousy, quote unquote, and we talk about this sometimes. Like jealousy can be a good thing because it clues you into what is like what you want for yourself that you don't currently have, and it's like it can be a signal that you should work on it. So you could take it that way, but I think a lot of people do tend to take it another way, which is like, let me distance myself from this friend so I don't even have to like think about that anymore and like live my life in peace, which is also valid. Like you don't have to you don't have to like follow the jealousy, you know, and like see where that takes you. But yeah, anyways, that's a
It's
little
true.
tangent. Yeah.
I really don't want to make this tangent longer, but I wanted to say I think the reason why this happens is because sometimes, actually a lot of the times when you meet people for the first time and you become friends with them, usually you're on the same playing field. Like you met at a very pivotal moment in your life where you're kind of going through the same crisis as someone else. And so when that path kind of diverges a little, that's when you start feeling kind of tilted by other people's change and other people's success, or maybe other people's just like life circumstance. Anyways, we do like to ramble a lot on this podcast episode, especially when you're on, because I go off script whenever you're on.
I bring up random related points and stuff. Yeah.
You also like to like
I like to branch off.
Verbal essays. This, yeah.
Oh yeah. Did I verbal essay too much?
No.
Okay.
You're great.
I try to keep it.
Pickle James.
Pickle James.
Number 2, the scariest things in adulthood and life is the creeping desire to not be involved in things. So when you're younger, there's the sense of FOMO. You always want to be around the people that you know. You always want to be places. You always want to be involved in things. I think now in our late 20s or entering our late 20s, there's this creeping desire to not go out and not see people and not be places, and it's a whole 180, and like no one prepared me to feel this much like a homebody, but I just want to be at home with my cat and my boyfriend and watch a nice murder mystery on the TV and like not be bothered.
So instead of the fear of missing out, it's the fear of going out.
Yeah.
FOGO.
FOGO. Yeah, that was just one I wanted to list because I think I didn't expect when I was younger. I just thought I would always be the life of the party and want to just meet people and like go out all the time. And I thought drinking was fun. And I just think there's so much joy now to not doing all that no one prepared me for that.
I feel like probably since 18, you felt like you wanted to go out a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
When do you feel like that changed?
Honestly, when I hit 26 last year, I think there was a whole shift in like who I wanted to spend my time with and then what I wanted to do with my time. I also think it comes with like more and more commitments as you get older. Like when you're an adult, every year comes commitments stack and then your time drains, and then you start realizing, oh, like going out and, you know, going to a club on a Friday knocks out your Saturday. And then if you go out on Saturday, it knocks out your Sunday. And honestly, once you hit your late 20s, it knocks out the whole weekend if you go out once. And so I think I got to weigh the pros and cons of doing things now. Like my body is not as great as it used to be. Maybe this is also because as I get older, I'm a little more mindful of myself and like caring for my own sanity and my own health, that I just feel like I need to be more conscious when I make decisions to, for example, drink alcohol, which I think this season we've been a good 50-50 on drinking soju drinks versus not soju drinks or non-alcoholic drinks. But yeah, anyways, I think I'm rambling.
No. Yeah, I think just one thing on this for me is like people just shouldn't feel bad if they don't really enjoy going out. Like you shouldn't force yourself to go out just because you feel like you need to.
Yeah.
I think like especially if you're on the younger side watching this podcast, like obviously do things out of your comfort zone and like try it. But if you feel like you really just don't like it, like you don't have to go out. You know?
It's true, yeah.
And I think for us, like we've had moments and times when we like to go out, but I think now it's just more. As I'm noticing people around me, they're also going out less, and they don't really want to go out as much anymore. I think it's just like it does have an effect on your body, and then whenever you go out, what's the saying, like joy today takes away like joy from you're borrowing time and joy from the next day when you go out.
That's a good saying.
And like that's true. Like by going out and like having fun till like 4 a.m. and like drinking, the next day's kind of shot. Like you can't really do anything. If you're an adult with like increasing commitments, like it just becomes harder and harder to like justify that, you know?
Yeah. I will say I think 27 is still straggling between the wanting to be present and like still feeling a little bit of FOMO, and then also this like weird new feeling of not wanting to be in places and seen. And also just to mention, I think FOMO can apply not just to things like going out. It could be just anything, like receiving invites to dinner parties, seeing people. Why am I blanking on other examples of like FOMO?
I mean just hangouts and like
just hangouts, trips, things like that.
On our end though, I think we still need to like do a better job of like trying to keep up with friends.
Yeah.
I think there's a fine line between not succumbing to the fear of missing out and then also just like not putting enough effort into friendships when we should. So I think for us, like we definitely need to reach out to friends more. But I think for anyone listening, it's, you know, I guess the message is just it's okay to miss out on things, you know?
Yeah.
Like just prioritize whatever you want to do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scary stuff, man.
Scary. Yeah. I'm shivering in my boots.
You're not wearing boots. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm wearing trick or treat socks.
They say trick and treat on each foot.
Yay.
Yay.
I think there's a lot that we can say on social life and friendships. The other category that I wrote down, like subcategory in the relationships category, is parents. Because I think there is such a shift when you're an adult in your relationship with your parents that no one preps you for. And one of the scariest things that I thought of was unlearning childhood beliefs, behaviors, and kind of like rules and guidelines.
Do you have any examples for yourself?
Yes. So basically, as a kid, I think a lot of, at least for me, the reason I thought of this is I feel like I learned most of my understanding of the world and life and society from my parents. And they obviously have certain beliefs that are kind of like driven by how they grew up, and then also how their life kind of played out in America. And so I feel like I carried a lot of like skepticism, frugality, and certain behaviors that I had to kind of like unlearn. And that's part of like what I had been talking about in therapy with my therapist for a long time. But I'm curious if you have anything that you had to unlearn, and when you realized that you have things that you need to unlearn from your childhood. And is it scary to you?
This is not something my parents taught me, but I think it's just a consequence of like the lifestyle that our family had because of the like working situation my parents had. And I kind of talked about this before, but basically they're so busy working all the time to like provide for us that we were left home alone a lot. So, you know, I had three siblings, have three siblings. So that was nice in terms of like being able to just hang out with them or like do whatever. But there were a lot of times when I was just kind of alone too. I think a lot of kids who end up, I think it's called like latchkey kids. They just kind of like stay home alone because their parents are working.
Oh, yeah.
They develop like hyper independence because you kind of learn from an early age, like I need to be okay being on my own. And I need to know that like in life, like I'm fine if I'm just by myself, you know? And so I think I did take that from an early age. I remember my best friend from when I was like 7 till like high school, he said something along those lines like, if I had to move away and we weren't friends anymore, would you be like really sad? Like what would happen? And I was kind of like, I was like really cold answer because I was answering too truthfully because this is how I felt at the
like,
time.
Yeah, I don't care about you.
I literally was like, no, I think I'd be fine. Like maybe I'd be a little sad, but I don't think I'd really care that much, to be honest. I don't know if I said it that coldly, but he was clearly like, the fuck? Like very rightly so, right?
Oh.
Like, and this is a friend that I valued a lot, but I think for some reason I had it in my head that I can't rely on anyone necessarily. So that led me to say a very dumb thing like that to him because I could sense he was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, why? Like, would you be sad? He's like, yeah, obviously I'd be like upset, you know? And that was like kind of a very clear memory that I have. And I was like, oh wow, like I do have a problem in terms of being a little too independent. I used to think independence is good, but I think it's not actually that good. Like it's good to be independent, but to operate in a way where you're just kind of like okay cutting people off just because you're like, oh, I'm fine being by myself, is bad. And I think that does relate to something you said in the last episode about how to feel less overwhelmed. It's lean on the people around you. And for me, I used to very avidly like push that away. And I think that presented issues in our relationship early on too.
Yes, it did. Codependency episode, or
Yeah.
When do you think you started unlearning that? And when do you think you realized that as an adult you have to start unlearning that? Or maybe as a kid you have to start unlearning that?
Probably started from that one incident as a kid with like that friend. But honestly, like, you know, that's not something I like actively focused on until our relationship. Once we started having like some issues earlier on where I was like being a little too avoidant sometimes, I think that's when I was like, oh, this is kind of an issue that I need to work on. Yeah. For you, what are there like things that your parents taught you or things that you learned because of your parents that you're trying to undo?
I kind of always stray away from talking about money, but I think it was just such a core part of my childhood. All the mindfulness around money, and it wasn't necessarily a parent thing. It was just a economic circumstance thing that I was taught so much to save every penny. Like even if it was like a $2 thing that I had to buy for a school project, I'd somehow try to make it myself or like DIY it. And I think it carried actually really deeply into my adulthood, like until like 25, which is pretty far into me having a stable corporate, like a nice stable corporate income. And I think for a lot of people, especially friends, they were very surprised when I was like early 20s, still kind of mindful about money in the sense of like, oh, like we could take the subway instead of taking an Uber. And unlearning money habits is actually a really hard thing. I've noticed it really takes a lot of practice and like mindful, active energy to start doing things. And it sounds stupid to say like I had to actively choose to spend money when I was like 24, 25, and like you would tell me to buy things and I would have to like, I don't know how to describe this feeling. And I wonder if other people relate, but I used to have a physical reaction to when I had to put my card down for things, like spend money on a new pair of shoes and I wasn't getting a discount on it. I would physically react, like I would feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, paying full price.
Yeah, like
it feels wrong, right?
It feels, yeah, and I would carry with that in my head for the whole day, and it feels so weird to like vocalize it, but that's just like how I was, because money was just such a tight subject when I was like younger. And
this relates to your scarcity mindset episode.
It does relate to my scarcity mindset episode, and I feel like I've made a lot of strides now. Like it doesn't hurt me and pain me to spend money, but it hurts me and pains me to see my parents still operate the way that they did when we didn't have money. And it's hard to teach your parents to unlearn things because they're so old now. And relating back to the whole fearful and scary things about adulthood, I think another scary thing is just having to be the responsible one in the family, and especially children of immigrants, I feel like go through this a lot, that they have to bear the burden of some of the habits that their parents have being immigrants, and they kind of have to carry that weight and like be the one to problem solve and like fix the issues of an immigrant household, you know?
I think a lot of people have the opposite problem, which is like spending too much or spending beyond their means. And then other people have like your problem or what you're describing. It's like you need to spend a little more. Like you have the means and like make your life a little easier by saving time. And I mean, in college we used to like, we would maybe take like an hour and 30-minute trip just to save like $20, you know?
Oh yeah,
and that $20 Uber would take like 15 minutes, you know, versus like an hour and 30 minutes. Like we didn't have money that back then. That's why we did that. But I think some people still operate that way.
Yeah. Sorry to talk about money, you guys. We did actively talk about it. Money is a very touchy subject, so we've been trying to not mention it as much. But I do think, I don't know, money shapes a lot of us. And I feel like our money habits and way we were raised around money is always the root source of some issues that a lot of people might have.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to avoid overplaying like money related conversations. Like we're not in our day-to-day life, we don't really like think back to our childhoods or like situations that much, and I feel like we bring it up on these podcasts sometimes, and we feel like we're portraying to other people that we're trying to like come off a certain way or like trying to say certain things about, you know, our financial like background or whatever, and like that's not the case. But I think it is a ubiquitous, like it is just a thing that everyone thinks about, right? So that's why it came up. But yeah, that was my thing I unlearned the last couple of years. I think I'm so much better at it now. Like I spend where I need to, and I think you have like a really good balance of that now. Yeah, you're still like way more frugal than the vast majority of people that we know in this income bracket. But yeah, I'm glad you're spending a little more to make your life better.
Thanks.
Sometimes. On the topic of parents, I think another scary thing as we're getting older is seeing our parents get older, and it's like kind of sad, honestly. Like I get really sad whenever I see my parents. We can all think back to a time when our parents were like
younger,
really young looking, and like every time you'd see them, they wouldn't really look that much older. But now I think it's like really clear.
Every time you see them, they're more wrinkles, a little bit more arch. Their health is deteriorating.
As we're getting older, are there things that you're realizing about your parents or like your relationship to them? Habits that you've had as like a family dynamic or anything like that that are persisting or changing as they're aging?
Well, I definitely think there is a scary part of your dynamic with your parents changing, because when you're younger and you're part of the household, you're the kid, right? Like your parents take care of you. But then as you get older, and especially now, like seeing my parents get older, it dawns on me that a lot of adults eventually do become caretakers for their parents, and that there's a responsibility that wasn't there before, and then you have to start thinking about and actively planning for. Something in one of the Soju Club life advice forms that someone submitted was actually around planning for, this is very morbid, but like mortality, and having that discussion with your parents, because a lot of people don't anticipate life changes happening, and then they don't plan around it, and then life gets very stressful when you are now hit with so much legal paperwork, so much stuff that you didn't prep for, and like wills, for example, that it gets really complicated when your parents leave, and that having that discussion is actually a really important thing. Obviously, it's a really hard thing to do too, but the advice that our soju shawty that wrote in, it's important to have these conversations when you can. And I think that's the really challenging part about getting older, is that you have to have difficult conversations now, whether it's with your parents or your partner or people that you care about or just your kids too. And prepping for the future is something that carries so much more weight than it used to.
I think those conversations are like, I think emotionally tough to accept that you need to have them with your parents, and especially if they're not necessarily the type of people to have that all in order ahead of time, like to push them to do that is, I think it's a lot as a child too.
But also on that topic about parents and dynamic shifting, I have this understanding or like this preconceived notion that a lot of people come from semi-broken families. And if you're really lucky, then you're probably from a really good family that has taken good care of you and provided for you in the ways that, you know, a healthy family dynamic should. But I think as you get older, you also come to the realization that some family dynamics can't be fixed necessarily. And the brokenness of the family dynamic has to be tended to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you care to share more about that for yourself? Like, have there been family dynamic stuff that maybe you thought might change, but have kind of just stayed the same over the years, and you're like, this probably won't ever change, and I just have to be okay with that?
I usually share everything on this podcast, but I think this is one of the things that I want to keep to myself.
Yeah.
But I hope that my explanation kind of explains what I was getting at with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think relating to this topic, I was actually talking to someone last night about this at the Halloween thing that we went to.
Oh, yeah.
Michael, if you're listening to this, hello.
Oh, yeah. He offered his article account for this podcast.
No, his Atlantic account.
Oh, Atlantic, sorry. What's article? Oh, articles
the Atlantic
are furniture.
Article.
Yes.
Yeah, articles are furniture. Now we're mixing and matching terms. Something we talked about, because he is from Canada, from far away from New York, and his parents are still there. And he's an only child, and you're an only child too. I have siblings, but something that we were talking about is like, as our parents are aging, we feel more and more of a responsibility to like spend as much time with them as we can. There's that one famous article on the site, Wait But Why. It's like it's a blog that's pretty famous. And he has this article where he talks about, if you map out the time that you spend with your parents, if you're an adult, you've pretty much spent like 90%, 95% of the time you'll ever spend with your parents in your life in childhood, and that's gone. Like, you only have 5 to 10% of your time left with them, which I think is like a really crazy stat. And like, when you put that into perspective, it's honestly like pretty scary. You've seen that chart too, right? It's like the lions meeting. Yeah.
You've mentioned this article before on a previous episode.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. If any soju shotties are watching this, pause the TV right now and call your parents and tell them that you love them. Hang up and then come back to the episode and then press play.
They'd be like, is something going on? Should we be concerned?
Hey, mom and dad, I love you. Bye.
Yeah, that's very concerning.
Actually, they're all going to call us because we're mom and dad.
You should put your phone number on the screen right now.
Oh, yeah. Please call 911. Thank you. I used to give that out to guys.
You'd put 911?
And they'd be like, what's your number? I'm like, 911.
What would they do?
They're like, what's your real number? And I was like, no. Anyway, sorry. But yeah, I've definitely seen that. And we've talked about this before on a different episode. But it is so sad that you only have like 10% of your time with your parents left. And it's really hard to manage though. Like, for a lot of people, they don't live close to family. And if you're lucky and you do live close to family, even then you have other obligations and like people and places to be.
I think in your early adulthood and even in like high school, it's really easy to be like, I want to get away from here. I want to see the world. I want to like explore. I want to like get away from my family just to like kind of be on my own and see what's out there. I think the older you get, you're like, I'm kind of good now. Like, I just want to like be around a support system. I want to be around like my loved ones and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people are starting to feel that more, including you and me.
Yeah. We had this conversation 2 days ago. We had a conversation where we were talking about where we wanted to be in a couple of years and live. And I'm going back to the desire to no longer be in situations or be involved. I feel like living in a big city, I used to have fear of missing out in terms of wanting to be in a big city and being around people and being around like the hustle and bustle. But now I'm just like, I want to be far from that. I want to be at peace. I kind of just want to move out to the suburbs. But I know you're not ready.
I still love living in New York, but and I know you do too, but yeah, I don't think I'm ready just quite yet. But I do share the sentiment of like wanting to be more around family and like closer to family. It's hard to not have a support system around you. And I think we've lived a lot of our adult lives without that support system near us. So
Yeah. Sorry for that very heavy section. I think it's so sad because I think when we're older now, when we talk about family and parents, it's always with a little bit of a sad undertone that's like, oh, they're getting older, like they're, but I think one of the good things about adulthood that I've at least noticed is like as your parents enter retirement age, sometimes they do get the luxury of kind of like tapping into their hobbies a little bit more. At least I've seen with your parents, they play golf, they invest their money, they like to do things, they like to learn, and
they just like to learn about personal finance and what stocks or what ETFs are like good to buy and stuff like that. It's like mini hobbies that they can participate in. So it is nice, like when you're older, you get to do that stuff.
You know what's funny? My mom also somehow is on like the personal finance side of YouTube now too. So whenever I'm like home, she's like playing some random Chinese guy's YouTube video where he's talking about finances and what you should do with it. And then she'll kind of like relay that information to me. But then I'm like, Mom, I already invest my IRA. What are you talking
Is she like telling you about interest rates and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Dang.
She loves like home hunting, like looking at homes, like not for homes because we're not buying a home, but she likes just like perusing Zillow actively. It's very cute.
Yeah, I think my dad quickly eclipsed my economics degree. He'd like ask me questions. I'm like, you know more than me, man. Like, I barely remember anything.
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Also so random, but someone had left a comment saying that they thought we were the same height and they were surprised because I posted a video of us
They thought we were the same height?
Yeah, because apparently when we sit, we look like we're the same height. Pickle James.
Pickle James. I mean, I'm not even tall, so.
Maybe you just come off as someone who's short.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's fair.
Welcome to Intermission. Today, for our intermission snack, we have pickles and peanut butter. And this is actually supposed to be part of a pickle peanut butter sandwich, but we are missing the bread, so we're just going to try pickles and peanut butter. And this is the sweet type of pickle.
Today we have, it's a classic. That's one crunchy pickle. That's what it says on there. So we have a giant pickle that we're going to share together. And while we're talking about that, should we actually talk about our costumes now?
Yes, we should.
For the audience who has patiently waited for us to talk about these.
The theme of today's episode was originally going to be our biggest fears. So we were supposed to dress up as our biggest fears. And unfortunately, the topic changed, but our costumes didn't.
Well, for me, like, you can't really dress up as the fear of being with Sarah Pan.
Oh.
So I was like, how do you dress as that? So we got to change the thing, right?
I mean, I think a pickle does equate to the fear of Sarah Pan because I love pickles. You do not want to see what I do with my pickles.
What the? What the heck?
So given that context, what is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is eating cucumbers because I will die on this hill for myself. I hate cucumbers, okay? And whenever I tell people that, they're like, what? Why would you hate cucumbers? They're like, they don't even have a strong taste. And to that I say, yes, they do. And they suck. I hate cucumbers. If there's anyone out there who agrees with me, please tell me because I've not really met a lot of people like that. Okay, if you let me finish. I'm getting very heated and passionate about this. I am a pickle, not a cucumber today because they don't have cucumber costumes for some reason. So this is the closest thing.
What's the difference? You look like a cucumber.
Cucumbers are pickled cucumbers. Anyways, that's my costume. I hate cucumbers. I'm scared of them, so that's why I dress as it. I'm confronting it head on.
And that's how we pick the intermission snack because what better than to make James eat a pickle?
I actually debuted this outfit a little bit in the last episode. And then you also debuted this before that on your Instagram on a very, very funny reel.
Oh yeah, we've all debuted as a pickle.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why we're eating the pickle today.
Would you like to try some of the pickle and peanut butter as I explain my costume?
Yes, let's do it.
So the origins of my costume is when I was in middle school, our teacher made us watch The Twilight Zone. And there's this one episode in The Twilight Zone. I remember specifically this one episode scared me lifeless. Nightmare at 20,000 feet. And if you haven't watched it and you're going onto YouTube to look it up, there's this weird edit of it where they're using some alien movie and splicing it with the real thing. So if you want to watch the real thing, I don't think it's on YouTube. But SNL has a really funny skit of it if you want to watch that. But there's this monster or creature in this episode where it's like kind of just a really fluffy man in a suit, but it looks more scary than that. And it has its face on the screen at some point. But for some reason, I cannot find a human-sized suit for that specific character. So I had to get a forest costume, and it looks close enough.
It's a ghillie suit. It's funny because I haven't seen anyone in a ghillie suit in a long time. We used to use that for like playing airsoft guns and stuff.
But it looks close enough to the monster. Maybe I'll put an image of the monster right here.
That's really funny, actually.
I don't really want to eat this.
I don't either. But we're scared of eating it, so we gotta confront our fears head on. That's what we're gonna do.
All right, let's do it.
It's a classic.
I don't even want to show you guys a close up. This doesn't look very appetizing.
It's really nasty looking.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
I'll let you eat it first. So you can...
What the? Am I the royal taste tester?
Oh my god! You can spit it out if you want. It might be bad because the pickle's been in the fridge for like
It's
a
really
year.
bad. It's really bad.
Honestly, this pickle's not even that great, and I love pickles.
The pickle expires in 2025. I checked.
The peanut butter's great. How would you rate this? But like, rate it with the Halloween emoji.
You know the spooky ghost that has a little winky face and then the tongue out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. Because I'm feeling a little suggestive today.
Does it have to do with the
But it's
intermission
scary.
snack?
Oh no, I was just describing how I am.
Okay.
Oh, the intermission snack? The poop emoji.
Oh, mine is a skull emoji. This left me dead.
That's funny.
Peanut butter is great, though. Thank you for joining us in our intermission segment.
One day we'll have moose for our intermission snack.
What?
What?
This video is sponsored by the National Cowboys Association. In honor of the National Cowboys Association, we have a residential cowboy today. He refused to put on his uniform properly, so he is just cat boy. If you can't tell, this was a joke, and Moose is getting a little bit fed up. So thank you to our producer for being such a good sport. We'll put a photo of him right here for anyone wanting. Moving on to career. This is a big topic. I feel like we always broach the career subject, but we don't actually dive into it. But this next category is career. Would you like to lead us off with the first scary career thing?
Yeah, I think if we're going in order, this happens a lot in early career. And I think it's like the fear of too much routine and kind of boredom, I guess, in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I think when you first leave college, you get into the corporate job and then you do your 9 to 5 every day and you're like, this is it. Like, this is what I have to do like the rest of my life. Like, there's no summer vacations. There's no like built-in breaks. I just have to like go indefinitely until I can financially afford to like stop working, hopefully.
Yeah.
And so I think that is like a big career fear that people have. I don't think I really have that anymore. Like, do you still experience that, like fear of routine and kind of monotony that you have to keep doing this never-ending treadmill?
I have more fears around other things in my life actually now.
Yeah, you're like, I got scarier things to worry about now. Yeah.
I think when you get into a routine and a system and a lot of repetition, time goes by really quickly because it kind of all like meshes together. So one of the ways to get around that is to create change in your life, whether that is moving to a new city or starting a new job. Like, you build in this novelty and every day you go through new things for the first time. And that's what allows you to slow down time and feel like at least every single day is more memorable. And I think the fear I have with routine and repetition is more just around the fear of like not remembering things anymore, because every day is just the same. If that makes sense.
I think it's just a fear of like stagnating. And that honestly carries over to like not just career. I think that's why people have a fear of like settling down and committing long term to a partner. I think they're afraid like, oh, I can't like spread my wings and fly anymore. Like, I can't
do
what about
things.
What about that, like that dream I had of like maybe one day moving to Europe? Or what about like, oh, I wanted to try out living in LA. Like, maybe I can't ever do that anymore. I think a lot of people, they take that realization that they can't do everything in life anymore, and they like kind of pin it on the relationship or the career, and they're like, oh, if I do this career or this relationship, I like can't do that anymore.
There's something so scary about the fact that when you're an adult and you're in your career and you want to move up, that your whole career playing out and like where it's going to go is kind of dependent on your manager. Of course, there's a lot of things you can control, like how hard you work and your output and everything like that. But a good chunk of career development and growth is dependent on your manager. And for some people, maybe a lot of people, your first manager is never going to be your best manager. You have to go through many managers to realize what a good manager is. And I think that's one of the scary things, that your career is sometimes dependent on the people that you're working with and the people that you're situationally just placed into.
Yeah, I would say it's like completely dependent on that.
Yeah.
And like all you can do is do your best guess of like, oh, I think this team that I interviewed with is gonna give me a good environment, but you never really know. Do you feel like you've had decent luck in your career so far with managers, or how do you feel about that?
I've had, I think, good luck with my managers. They've always been very supportive, and I think it really has helped me grow into myself in a workspace, like being more confident about the work that I do, and then also feeling validated in my output and like my growth as an engineer. I think a good manager is good at validating you. Like they're good at pointing out things that you've done well, so you know to keep doing that.
Yeah, that's really true. I think it's so luck dependent, and that's really scary about your career, is that it depends so much on your manager and how well your manager advocates for you and your team and how much they like provide a good working environment.
How's your experience been with your managers?
My most recent job is the most tumultuous one, like manager wise, because I started off with a really great manager that I had a really good relationship with. Then he left. I got onto a new manager who was newer and like didn't really know my work that well because he was new. I think it's like that's a tough game to play because you don't know how well liked they are by other people and how much value they're adding and how they're advocating for you. But I was definitely just left on an island by myself. And then if I like wasn't relayed some information about this big meeting where I'm presenting, and then I come off bad because I wasn't told by my manager about some discussions happening and I get yelled at, he'd be like silent in the meeting.
Oh, he wouldn't support.
Yeah, I got yelled at once in a big meeting with like several executives were there, and then he was like, this chart doesn't look polished, like what, you shouldn't be like putting this up, like did you just like prep this just before the meeting or something, like what happened? And I just had to take it and be like, yeah, I'm sorry, like take the feedback and work on it, blah 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 blah. But like that only happened because my manager messed up, and then my manager didn't even speak up for me, and then afterwards he didn't even like say anything like, oh sorry that happened, or like, hey, like we'll work on it, whatever. Complete silence.
Oh my God.
And it was like so bad that another manager from a different team came up to me at the office and he was like, I'm sorry that happened, like they were really like overly like critical to you, and it happens to everyone, so like don't let it get to you. I was like, why are you telling me? And my manager didn't even say anything to me, and it was his fault.
You should have asked him, are you guys hiring? Because I would love to be your reportee.
Yeah, reporter. Anyways, I think it does suck because like it also affects your promotion stuff too. So like my manager wanted to put me up for promotion.
Your old manager,
who I had a good relationship with. New guy comes in, he's like, you're not ready. I'm like, you've known me for like 2 months. How do you know if I'm ready or not? Like, And then it's like, okay, like it's your decision, right? Like can't really sway you.
So they blocked you one cycle.
So then he's like, okay, but in 6 months we really want to do it. So like in 6 months, I promise. He didn't say I promise, but he was like, you're on the short list. Like we're going to put you up to get promoted. And I was like, okay.
And then what happened?
Next 6 months cycle, he's like, well, we think you should work on this and this a little bit more. And like, you're almost there, like 6 months more. Like we're going to get you to get promoted. Next 6 months comes, he's like, we still feel like you need to like progress a little in the things we talked about. I'm like, what? These are like moving goalposts. Like this is supposed to happen a year ago now. Like what happened?
Didn't he gaslight you too and say like, it's actually good that you're not getting promoted because there's more responsibility when you get promoted?
Yeah, he's like, actually sometimes it's a blessing not getting promoted before you're ready, because like you don't want that type of like extra responsibility. It's like way too much.
Yeah,
not everyone needs to be a manager.
I'm not going to be the crazy supportive girlfriend that's like, you were so in the right. Where were they? Like they were in the wrong. Like, well, but you worked 12-hour days for them sometimes, and you were so overworked by them.
For a tech company, that was like overworking for sure. Yeah,
that was crazy. Not even just for a tech company. You were like working consulting hours and like.
Yeah. I think on the flip side, I've heard like a lot of people say they got really lucky because they joined like a growing company with a really good manager who gave them opportunities to like progress upwards, and then that's why they become really successful in their careers. And I think a lot of people get the opposite. And these types of scenarios can really set someone back as much as someone can get propelled forward just by having a good manager in a company that's growing at the time. Yeah.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
It's okay. There's way worse things that have happened to a lot of people. So
that one was supposed to be like a short little like memo, but I guess it ended up being a little bit longer. The next scary thing about adulthood is ambition burnout. So burnout is when you get overworked and like emotionally drained from your work situation. I feel like it's used a lot in work situations, but ambition burnout is when you start feeling the fire for your passions or your side hobbies or things like that draining, whether it is a hobby or like a pursuit that you have, that once you get older, you start losing the momentum to keep pursuing something you used to have a goal for. So your ambition just drains a little. Have you felt that yet?
I think I felt that at this job that I just described.
Yeah.
Because I was working really hard. I was like being really ambitious. Like,
oh yeah.
From the first like few months that I joined, I started having conversations about like, I do want to get promoted. I want to like contribute a lot to this company, but also like get a lot back from it. How can I get there? And so we like set up all that stuff, right? And then all the promotion BS happened. And then after that, I was just kind of like, why have I been working so hard for this company? I had a lot of the ambition burnout, definitely, because of like when the goalposts start moving or you just experience enough failure, I think it makes you question like, oh, am I even barking up the right tree right now? Like,
Yeah.
why am I even working this hard for this thing? Like, is it that important to me, or should I be looking to thrive elsewhere? Because like maybe my strengths are actually elsewhere. So I've definitely had that.
I think me too, but less on the corporate career front, more on the creative career front. I feel like I was very ambitious when I first started my YouTube channel, and that was all that I cared about, working on my YouTube channel and growing that. And in the process of that, I feel like I kind of lost like the reason I was doing it and like the purpose. And I talk about purpose and impact sometimes on this podcast. And I just feel like it's hard to do something when you don't have a purpose or feeling of impacting people anymore. And I was watching this TED Talk actually where some guy was talking about why most people are miserable in their jobs. And the point that he was driving at, which you can disagree if you think it's wrong, was that most people don't feel like they're having a positive impact on people's lives and that they're just not making impact at all. And when you go to a job or when you're doing something just to go through the rhythm or just to go through the motion of doing that, it makes you feel soulless and it makes you feel so discontent with where you are and what your career is and how it's played out. And I think I felt that because like, I love everything I've done so far with my content, but at a certain point last year, I was looking at myself and I was like, why am I doing this? Like, what is the point of this? You know, I feel like I haven't grown much as a person through what I'm doing. And I know I do reach some people on the channel, but every month and every year, I feel it dwindling, like the way I can reach people. And I think it's mostly because I realized I was just doing content that is at its core a little bit meaningless, like just sharing my life. And I know it provides comfort to people, but for me, I was like, what honest impact does it have, you know? And I find that now with my podcast, but I think I felt a lot of creative burnout and like ambition burnout with the main channel because I didn't know what to do with it. And honestly, it's still like an open question for me. I'm still doing the same things, but it's hard when you start something and then you don't know where to take it, but then you're also like, do I continue doing it or do I stop doing it? Like, where do I take this thing that is half baked?
I think in the beginning with a lot of things, you can have a lot of dreams of where it can go. You're like, this could skyrocket. You know, my channel could do really well. But then sometimes you try things and they don't really work the way you think they work, or certain things do work and you're like, I think I have to lean more into that. I feel like for you, like content has been a very winding road, and I think now you're at a point like you've tried a lot of different things and not all of them have panned out like the ideal way that you would have hoped necessarily, like views and engagement and impact wise. And I think that leads you to be like, well, what is this lifestyle content niche in general? Like, what impact does this niche have? And I think it's a really valid question, and it's something that you talk about a lot because you're kind of just going through it, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, well, this is not what I was going to say, but I was also going to make a joke. I was like, yeah, things haven't really Sarah panned out for me the way that they should. One thing that I'm trying to accept more is that rejection is redirection. So at least for your case, I've seen you go through all the stress and struggle with your career, but I do think the one thing that came out of it is that you poured more of your mental energy now into your art and your craft and like trying to better yourself as a designer and someone who is a creative rather than focusing on your corporate career. That's not how things play out for some people, but I think rejection is redirection. And for me too, that having confusion around my main channel has allowed me to give more of myself to the podcast in a way. So I do live by the whole, if one door closes, another door opens saying. And then my mom also says failure is the mother of success.
Yeah, I think so much of life is just like framing and like narrative for yourself. Like for me, I could easily be like, and someone else could criticize me and say, oh, you just didn't have what it took to like network and make it at the company, you know, and like you just kind of resigned yourself to something else and jumped just because you couldn't get promoted, right? That's like a very cynical view on it. I think like my narrative for myself is like, yeah, I wasn't really enjoying the work that much anyways, and why was I pouring that much into something that I wasn't that passionate about when I could do something else or try something else out? And obviously there's a lot of like financial stuff involved in there too that you can't just break away from a job, right? My narrative for myself is like, yeah, I think I'm taking it and trying to channel into something better, which is what you're saying, you know, one door closed, another open. So thank you.
The last thing that I wanted to say about scary things with work life as an adult is losing a sense of who you are outside of work. And actually, Julia and I talked about this on the podcast episode that we did, but it's really hard to separate yourself now from your work. And I think it's because we spend so much time at work. So in college, I was never like, oh, I'm the computer science major. Like that was never part of my identity, or it wasn't a strong part of my identity. But for some reason now my career is who I am. It's what I lead with. Like, hi, I'm an engineer.
You say that?
Hi,
everyone.
I'm an engineer.
Hi, I'm an engineer. It's like, what's your name? I'm engineer.
I'm engineer. I'm Forrest. Yeah, we don't really have to dive into this. I think some people can probably relate to the sentiment that once you're an adult, it's kind of hard to not share much about your career. It's like kind of a big part of your identity now.
Yeah, if you're spending 40 hours plus a week on it, like that's so much of your time. It is kind of baked into who you are a little bit, right? It affects who you are.
I guess we didn't really talk about finances, but just to list off some of the scary things about finances: mortgages, interest rates, debt.
Oh my God.
Unpaid bills.
Oh, stop it. Please make it stop.
Pet insurance.
No. That's everything?
There's more. Investment accounts. Okay.
It's not a cost, is it?
Well, okay, one thing that maybe we can briefly talk about, we do want to do a finance episode where we actually talk about money, but no one really preps you for the discussion around money and like where to put your money. I was really confused how to invest my money and what to do with my money when I first started earning money. And I feel like that's a common sentiment across like early 20s and mid 20s. The question of what do you do with your money? But we can dive into that a separate episode. But that is a scary thing, money. But now let us move on to the miscellaneous category. I threw this in for just the things that I didn't really know how to categorize, but they're so real. So under this miscellaneous category, I wrote aging. And one of the things I wrote down for aging is the blurriness of life when you get older. So things start overlapping with each other. You start forgetting things. Your memories kind of get mushy, and then you have a hard time recounting people's names. Do you experience that?
Yeah, I think I have this thing now where I don't remember who I told what to.
Oh, yeah.
So I just remember I said it. And now I have to be like, I'll start saying something and be like, wait, did I tell you this already? And
yeah, I do
like,
that too.
Yeah, you told me that.
You also have to play telephone to get back to where you actually found out things from. I think the scarier thing is this blurriness becomes mental fog, and then it becomes brain fog, and then you just have bad memory, and then you're old.
You're just saying your memories, it's harder to remember stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because if your brain's like a hard drive and you have like space, like a limited amount of space, you just have to dump some stuff, right? You always have to like, your brain picks and chooses what it wants to retain. Right?
Oh yeah, that's a good analogy.
I think that's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah, your brain is a hard drive. A hard drive is a brain.
Beep boop.
Beep boop boop. Okay, this next one is the fear of being out of touch. And so when I was a kid, I used to remember saying, oh, these old people, they don't understand technology. My parents don't know how to use phones. That's so like old. But I'm starting to feel like I can't keep up with trends, and I can't keep up with memes and things that people say nowadays. And I'm so fearful of becoming those older adults that like can't pick up a joke anymore because the humor's changed and they don't know technology as fast as they should.
Yeah, I feel that too, because like so many people use ChatGPT now for everything.
Yeah.
And only through your encouragement recently have I started using ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why didn't I start using this sooner? And I just kind of realized like I kind of had a resistance to it a little bit in my head, because I was
we're
like,
getting older.
I know the things that I do and I know the ways that I do them, and I don't want to like, change it up. It's just inconvenient, and like, but I'm just like, oh yeah, this is just a lot better, you know?
I feel like you are the type of person to resist change as much as you can.
Well, I've always thought of myself as like, oh, I don't think I'll be that adult who like doesn't pick up new technology, and I feel like I'm self-aware enough that I will eventually pick up new technology and stuff, but I don't think I'm naturally inclined that way, actually, is what I'm learning. Yeah, because it took me a little bit longer to like get onto like using ChatGPT versus like I think a lot of people already use it a lot.
Yeah. I am very curious about new technology, but sometimes if it seems like too much work to learn it, then I'm like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
There's this whole thing about like prompt engineering where it's an art to pick the right words, to ask ChatGPT to return the right response, and like there's a whole science behind it.
Oh, like you have to craft your prompts well to get good responses from ChatGPT or Gemini.
Or Gemini.
Because
the better
you work at Google.
Yes,
the better alternative. Sponsor us, Google, please.
Or ChatGPT or any AI company.
Yeah, OpenAI, come at us. Even the knockoff or third-party ones.
Yeah.
Come to us.
Closed AI.
Closed AI and Google.
Anyways, I think that is the list that I curated. Is there anything that is scary about adulthood that I kind of missed or that you want to add in? Oh, you know what's scary? Bloody Marys.
They're not very good. Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. What is scary? Here's what's scary to me in adulthood. There's way too much true crime documentaries, true crime like movies that are like fictionalized versions of like real stuff that happened. I'm getting tired of it. Okay. And we've been watching more of them recently just because they are interesting, but
they're all over Netflix.
Yeah, but now I'm just like more distrusting of people a little bit. I'm like, this guy could be creepy, or like, like, oh, there are weird people out there. It's just, I feel like it puts me in a negative headspace that I don't need to be in. But it's because like people eat that shit up online,
I just realized, because I was so confused yesterday why there's so many true crime documentary series, movies. It's because it's Halloween month.
Oh, there's more of it right now.
Yeah.
Oh, because of that. But in general, it's been like way, way more just in general media. Like there's podcasts dedicated to it, I'm like, do you guys need to like
those are fun
glamorize all this stuff all the time?
It is kind of glamorized, especially in the entertainment industry.
In Netflix, right?
But they're fun to watch.
There's that one who does like glam makeup while talking about true crime stuff, right?
Bailey Sor.
Yeah, I don't know her name, but yeah. Not to yuck anyone's yum. If you like true crime stuff, like it's fun. It's really fun to listen to and watch, but it's just like, I think I'm getting fatigued by it. Yeah, that's it though. I don't really have anything else.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching the very last Halloween episode. Please let us know what the scariest thing is to you guys. It could be very scary or it could be not scary, but just mentally scary. So let us know. And thank you guys as always for listening. We will be back with our regular videos next week.
Because it's the month of Halloween, I do think a lot of our things are more leaning fear and scary stuff based. And, be on the lookout for some more uplifting stuff too later on, because we do want to have encouragement and other stuff too to talk about, and not just like scary stuff or fearful stuff, because we don't want to be negative either. So that's all.
Thank you for the disclaimer.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for listening as always, and we will see you next week.
Yep. Remember, Daddy loves you.
What the hell?
And I will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bloopers.
It's bloopers. I'm surprised you aren't holding Ernie today.
Oh, Ernie needs his personal space today. When we last filmed, he was 0 days old, and now he's like 14 days old, and I think that's enough time for him to mature. So
he doesn't look like he's grown at all.
That is literally the most offensive thing you could have said. Yeah, he will be leaving.
Welcome back, soju shotties.
There's usually a tone of like,
sorry, getting into character, you know? I'm just a little forced. I can't talk about that.
You're just gonna talk like that the rest of the episode?
What do you mean?
That's the scariest thing in life to me. Being with someone who only talks like that.
Your girlfriend turning into a forest? What do you mean?
I think my girlfriend talking like that all the time. Wait, can you do a Timothée Chalamet impression?
I'm Timothée Chalamet.
I'm really convinced. Can I try to imitate his laugh?
Okay, do it. Is that his laugh? There's a fear of being ghosted because, boo, ghost. Halloween. Ghosted? Ghosts are scary? Do you get it?
Okay. It is recording.
Okay, thank you. And Ernie's okay?
Ernie is Ernie. You will listen to me, boy.
What the fuck?
I just need to give him a little corporal punishment. Yeah.